am I wealthy? Am I rich? How do I afford this stuff? Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am back with the highly requested and long awaited, I apologise for that, how long it's taken me to get this video done, finance video. Whenever I had my Q&A, you guys had asked me some questions, quite a few questions actually on finance, on am I wealthy? Am I rich? How do I afford this stuff? How do I budget for luxury? How do I manage my money? Things like that. And I had said at the time, whenever we did the Q&A video, that that probably was a whole topic to itself, and I didn't want to just give it a superficial going over in the Q&A video. So I had said that I would come back and do a separate video on that, and that's what we're going to do today. So I suppose the first part of that really is to answer the questions which come up in the Q&A, and which I probably expected, to be honest, is are you wealthy? Are you rich? Do you have lots of money? How do you afford this stuff? And the answer is no, I'm not rich and I'm not wealthy. I am also, though, not going to sit here and talk to you like a hypocrite or patronise you, because I can see in the viewfinder what is behind me. So in respect of our personal finances, I own a business. I still work full time in that business and I take a salary from the business. My husband also still works full time. So we are very much just a normal family with two full-time working parents. The children go to daycare to let us work, and we have to work. We are not in the position where either of us could decide, well, we're going to give up work now, and that we would be wealthy enough or rich enough to be able to do that. That just wouldn't be a possibility or wouldn't be a reality. So when I think of are you wealthy or are you rich, I think of having lots and lots of money to be able to do whatever you would like and not have to worry about working or anything anymore. And we're definitely not in that position. I would say that over the years, things have got a lot more comfortable than they used to be. I don't come from money. My mum was a single parent. We lived in social housing growing up. My brother and I very much knew that my mum had to work a lot. She had 3 different low-paying jobs to survive, I suppose, and to manage things. Now in adulthood, we know a lot more of just how much she did without to be able to let us have things like school uniforms and clothes. And I know there were times that she would tell stories of now, you know, that she wouldn't have even had the money in her pocket to buy a coffee. And that was a reality. That was a reality for a long time. Thankfully, things have got better. And with hard work, we are now in a different position. But it does instill that work ethic in you. And I also think that it made me very, very good with money. So I'm going to be careful in this video to try and not go on huge tangents, because as well as having had to be very good with money from a very young age, I also now do own a business. I've had that business for over 10 years and I manage the finances. So I am used to managing finances, and I could talk to you about personal finance and investment and retirement funds and ISAs for till the cows come home. But that is not what we're here for. So I'm going to try and bear that in mind. If you do have any particular questions, just put them in the comment box down below. But one thing I would recommend is, if you're looking at bigger financial questions or goals, is that you seek advice from a professional, a regulated professional, a financial advisor. I myself have taken advice from a financial advisor. I do continually take advice from a financial advisor, and I think that we should all, if there are big questions to be had, seek that advice from someone who specialises in it. So anyway, growing up with having very little money did mean that I started work whenever I was 14. I worked in the kitchen of a bar, and then I worked in shops, and then I worked right through university. I worked in a restaurant, and then obviously once I qualified, I kept on working. So I have been working for a very long time. I did open my business over 10 years ago. Certainly whenever it was being established, I worked a huge amount of hours. I would still work a lot, but I used to work, especially before the children, huge amount. I would be a bit of a workaholic. I think one of the things that my mum had to get herself out of that position was a very, very strong work ethic, and that's certainly something that she instilled in me. It in me can maybe sometimes go a little bit too far and become a bit obsessive and workaholic-y, which when you have a family isn't always a good thing, but was a good thing whenever I was building the business and establishing it. Certainly now, at the time where we are now, and I've said this before, I'm nearly 40, so these are not things that came young or easy. None of these were handed to me. I have worked for them all. And I'm no disrespect to someone that is lucky enough to be in a position that somebody gifts you these things. It's just not the experience I had, and I have had to work to basically for everything that we have. And as I say, we both still work full time, so it's not as if there is anybody in this house sitting back and being gifted. Certainly the incomes have to keep coming in. So through that, I worked the business up. I still work full time in the business. There's obviously other people that work in the business now as well. And over the last few years, specifically, things have probably got more comfortable. We have seen more of the rewards of that hard work. There has been a bit more disposable income. And if we're talking specifically about, say, my handbag collection, that has increased quite a lot over the last few years. I have been collecting handbags for 10 years, I've said that before, but in the latter number of years, the latter end towards my 40th, I suppose, is where a lot more of these have come from. And that is really just because the financial means has been a little bit easier in those later years with those years of the business building up. Obviously, I would say that last year, mine is one of those businesses that has been affected. If you're lucky enough to have a business that wasn't, that is fantastic, but mine has been affected, and I would say will probably take a few years to work back through to get to being exactly back into the position it was before the pandemic hit. And that, I'm not complaining about it. I'm still in a very fortunate position. I still have the business is still profitable, but it has been affected, and it is just going to take time to get back to where it is. So that is a bit of background on answering the questions of am I rich and am I wealthy, and I hope that that's given a bit more insight. And then the second part of the questions that I was asked is if I could give some tips or some guidance on how I budget for buying these items and how I manage my monies. And one thing I would say, probably from being younger, whenever money was very, very tight, I got very, very good at managing money. Now, when you look around these now, and if my husband was sitting here, he'd be going, are you crazy? What you spend on handbags, you're terrible with money. I'm not terrible with money. Once I have surplus money put away, yes, I will spend it. But I am very, very good at managing money. And the first thing that I would say to you, if you are looking to start budgeting and saving for things like this, and this will sound like such an obvious thing to say, but it's something that a lot of people don't do, you need to know your financial position. Now, I have been in the position before when I didn't want to know my financial position because it was a little bit scary, or because what it showed me is not what I wanted to see. But if you want to address your finances, be it to save for handbags, save for bigger things, save for much more priority things than handbags, you need to know what your financial position is. So you need to literally sit and write down all of your money that comes in and all of your money that goes out. And you need to see what the difference is and if there is difference. And that is, knowledge is power. You need to know your financial position to be able to manage it. If whenever you do that, there are debts, and there are debts that are things like credit cards with high interests or things maybe payday loans, please, please, please address those first. I don't want to be kill the crack over here in the corner, but those things are more important than saving for something like this. You've got to get the debt gone first. I myself personally used to have lots and lots and lots of debt, and there was no way any of these could have came. Now, at the start, I would have had debt, just to make ends meet and to get petrol and food in the month, and then it would have went on a bit to clothes, and then it maybe would have went on to looking at nice fancy things, and it's madness. It is absolutely madness. Please do not look at debt to fund these sorts of things. It is not worth it. Debt will suck the joy out of your life and will give you stress and will give you worries that will keep you up at night. Please, please don't use debt to buy these things. I would also say that if you do have debt, attacking that debt is much more of a priority than budgeting to buy handbags. And I'm sorry if that sounds really, really boring and not what we came for, but I do think it's something that needs to be said. If, however, you have done that and you're in the position where, your debt's in order and your finances in order and you're looking to budget to look at start adding some of these things to your collection, I'm going to give you a little rundown over what I do. So we have, as I say, I take a salary from the business and my husband still gets a salary because he still works full time. Those two salaries go into our joint account. And that is where they quickly disappear from because I am a great believer and what works for me is having separate accounts. If I have all of our money in one account, it becomes blurred in my mind and I don't know what it's all for and trying to stay on top of what it's for. So it all comes into the account that we use for our bills. We know exactly much has to be left in there for the bills, and there's extra left in for things that are paid yearly. The rest of the money then gets transferred out right away. All of our bills are set up to be paid by direct debit or standing order, so they can't be missed, and I would really recommend that. As well as in those bills coming out, there are also savings coming out. So all of our money that is going to savings are automatic payments, and that's something that I would recommend. You don't have to remember to do it then. You also can't be tempted to not do it because there's a nice shiny handbag that you want to buy that month, or you want to go somewhere, because we have to look at the bigger, more responsible, slightly more boring things, but they have to be taken care of. So I have, in our money set up, we have long-term savings that go out automatically. We have pension savings that go out automatically. We have savings that go out for our children automatically. We then have savings that go into holiday accounts that go out. They then have savings that go into another account that's just to buy things for, say, the house or whatever. And then I still have, and my husband still has, an individual own account. Now, he puts money into his, and it's for, I think, the boys' trips, or boys as in his friends' trips that they go on or whatever. I put money into mine, and it is for handbags, shoes, massages, trips with my friends, and that is the money that once it's in that account, it's mine to spend. Now, I also have another account with one of my best friends where we put money in every month, and that is for our trips away. Sorry, I have two of those. I did say I like to have separate accounts for things. So I have, with two of my separate best friends, have a separate account, and money goes into that for us to go on trips. So as it's put away monthly, and it's not then lump sums that have to be found, and it's not impacting on my family's finances. It's put away to do that, and that doesn't get touched until it's for that reason. But then I have my own account, which is my Ladies Nice Things account, or my fun account, or my spending account, whatever you want to call it. And in there goes money, gets put into money there every month that is for shopping. And it is for these sorts of things. And whatever the money that is in there can be spent on these sorts of things. It's completely guilt-free. What is budgeted? The amount that goes in there is budgeted to know that it's not impacting on everything else. It's fine and safe to go in there, and it goes in there and it builds up. Now, if I have something in my mind that I know that I want to buy, I will let that just build, and I am very good at not buying something else or being distracted if there's something that I'm working towards. But whatever is in there is guilt-free. It's able to spend, and it means that when I do spend, nothing else is being sacrificed from the bigger picture. And it also means that I know that whenever I am buying something like this, I am not doing that to the detriment of my family or my children or anything. So what goes in there on a monthly basis goes into that account and is for me to spend. Now, there's other things that goes into that account as well. And I'm going to take you through a few of the tips that I have just for how I shop and how I save that money. And the first one, and I say this as a really strong caveat, but the first one to consider is a credit card with cash back or points. Now, only do this if you're not going to use it as a credit card. Don't do this for debt. I only do this for if I am buying something that I know I have the money for. So say I was going to buy that Capucines and I buy it on that credit card, I would then clear that right away. So I only do it when the money is there to clear the item in its entirety, but then I've earned the cash back or the points on the credit card from that purchase, especially if it's a big purchase. And that is one tip to get cash back or points added up. Another tip, and this is not sponsored, but another tip that I personally use are cashback apps. I use either Top Cashback or Quidco, and what I do is I will say, for example, I'm going to buy from Ted Baker where I buy a lot of clothes. I will look on both of those apps and see what has the highest percentage of cashback, and I will then buy the item through the cashback app. And say I'm buying something at £200 and the cashback is 10%, there's then £20 going back into my cashback app. And what I will do is I will let that build up for, say, a year. And then whenever it is at whatever it is within the year, I will then take that money out and add that into my savings account, my own personal shopping savings account. And that gets added into the monies that I have to spend on whatever I want to spend it on. And it's just a little way to get some money back and save some money back from the shopping that you're already doing. I'm going through notes in case you see me looking down. So I'm a great believer in cashback. Another thing that I am a great believer in is loyalty cards. So say for example, when I shop in Brown Thomas, I have a Brown Thomas loyalty card, and it gives points for both Chanel and Louis Vuitton. Now it obviously gives it for the rest of Brown Thomas, but Chanel and Louis Vuitton do not have their own loyalty card scheme. But if you're shopping at them in a store, Harrods do the same. You can then gather up either Harrods points or Brown Thomas points to then buy something else with, or use the money off for something else. I think when I bought the Gabrielle and I bought that in Dublin, I'm fairly certain that when I bought that I had a few €100 off the price of the bag from my loyalty points coming back from Brown Thomas. Now I do that everywhere. I have my Brown Thomas loyalty card, I have a House of Fraser one, I have a Boots one, I have a Nectar card, I have a Tesco one, I have one for the garage around the corner. I am a great believer in loyalty cards. My husband actually thinks it's quite funny. No matter what I am buying, if it's a place that has a loyalty card, I will use it because you might as well get your points back. This is a thing I think comes from, I did not grow up being able to afford these sorts of things. I very much grew up having to count the pennies to be able to get through month to month. So things like loyalty cards I think comes from that, but it's a trait I have never ever lost and I don't intend to lose, because you might as well get that back into your income and have that to add. And I apologise for my throat. This has been going at me for a couple of days. We have cashback and we have loyalty cards and we have the cashback credit card. The next thing that I will then do is go through my wardrobes quite regularly. Now, we all know that I'm awful at selling handbags and SLGs, and I have just sold some. I actually have sold quite a lot in January and February when I did a big clear out, and I'm quite proud of myself for that. But that money, for example, went back into my savings spending money account to buy the things that I wanted to buy. And I will regularly go through my wardrobes clothes wise, and anything that I'm not wearing that is still in good condition or whatever, I will sell either on Vestiaire or on eBay. And whenever I sell those, the money that comes back from those also goes back into my spending money account. Now, as well as our savings and everything being directly set up, we also donate to certain charities every month, and that is also set up as direct debits that go straight out of the account to pay those. And that's the same when I'm going through my wardrobes. There will be a certain amount of stuff that yes, I do sell, but also stuff that gets donated, and that's just something that I think is important to do. So the next small tip that I have, and this is also probably something that comes from my background and how we had to be with money back then, is I love a good money box. I can be a bit addicted to money box, and I will always have these. Now, this, I have never ever forgotten, I suppose, my background now that there is a bit more disposable income, and I very much am still in the mindset that you gotta look after the pennies as well, and you have to be on top of your money. So I will always have one of these. This is one of those breakable pots. You can't get your money, and you can hear what's in there. You can't get your money out of this until you smash it, and this one says shopping fund. There you go, across it. What I do with this is I will get one of these every year normally, and when I am shopping or going anywhere or whatever change is left in my purse whenever I come back, I will put into this. Or if I take out cash for going out for dinner or for going somewhere or to do me for the week, whatever is left, I will put into this, and then I will save this up over the year. Now, obviously last year was a bit different because we weren't going anywhere, but that would add up. If you're taking out cash or whatever, that adds up in the year, and then you have to wrap a towel around this, smash it off the wall or smash it with the hammer, and then I will add up whatever is in here, and then this will get added into my spending money account, and that will get added to the total that I have to buy the things that I am looking for. And I think that's a great way to just be gradually adding to your savings and putting in there whatever cash that you have left over or notes that you have, just to add into the overall total. And believe me, it all adds up. And I think as well, there can be sometimes, especially when we look at the price of these things, you know, thinking that small bits won't make a difference, but you need to start somewhere, and it will actually add up over time. Another thing to look at is to try and this sounds so obvious, but to try and earn more money. Now, we're in a very difficult time, but know your value. Know if whenever you're in work, if you are getting a salary that is equivalent to what you are providing to the business, or if there is overtime to do, or if there is a side hustle that you can pick up, like becoming YouTube, or selling maybe jewellery on the side, or selling Scentsy on the side or something, and that just gives a bit more disposable income to put into your savings pot to add up to these sorts of things. And it all does make a difference, and it might not be making you a huge amount, especially if it's something that you're just doing on the side, but it'll add up and it'll just keep adding in with what you're already putting aside to add up to those bigger pieces that you're looking at. Another thing that I would recommend is that you get your eye on the prize. So if I don't know how I'm saying this, not one to talk. I got so distracted last year with Louis Vuitton SLGs whenever they came on the website, and we've talked about that in other videos. But if there is something that you're saving for and something that you know you're working towards, try and keep that in your mind. So as whenever, you know, maybe there's like a £20 top that you see and you look, or you see an SLG come up, or you see a pair of shoes come up that you quite like, have a real think about whether or not do you really want that, or is it actually distracting you from what the prize is and what you're actually saving for. This I remember when I was first saving for my very first Neverfull, and I used to get distracted so much, and then the fund would just keep coming back down again because I'd bought stuff that now I can't remember. I doubt lasted very long, or I wore very often, but took so much longer then for me to get to the point of being able to buy the Neverfull. And then an obvious point as well is to try, if you can, to shop at a time of sale. Now, if you're waiting and saving for Chanel or Louis Vuitton, they don't really go on sale. I know Chanel have sales, but if it's a Chanel bag you're looking for, it's not going in the sale. Louis Vuitton's not going on the sale. But if it's maybe a YSL bag you're waiting for, or some Jimmy Choo shoes, or something that you're adding for, or you're saving for, a lot of those will go into the sales, the Black Friday coupon sales or the My Teresa coupon sales, and that might be something that you're able to add almost like into your savings by getting those savings back on what you're trying to buy, and you might be able to get it quicker. So it is a good idea to just keep an eye on those, but, and I put a big warning sign with that, don't buy it just because it's in the sale. If you are saving for the Chanel Classic Flap or the Louis Vuitton Pochette Matisse, and I'm saying things that I can see in the background, and then a YSL bag comes on sale, don't do it just because it's in the sale, because it won't stop the itch for what it is you actually want, and what you'll actually do is deplete your savings for the thing that you're trying to get. And I know it is so easy to get distracted when the sale comes on and you see how much is coming off, and that bag's beautiful as well, but if there's something that you're really, really, really wanting and your heart really, really wants, the other thing's probably not going to knock it off your list and probably not going to scratch the itch, and you're going to have to start again. So I would just bear that in mind whenever it comes to sale shopping time. So I do say that one with a little bit of a caveat. So those are the answers to your financial questions and little tips into how I save and budget for luxury handbags. If there's anything else that you'd like to ask, or maybe more in depth, please just do leave me a comment in the comment box. I hope that this has been helpful and enjoyable. I hope it's what you were all looking for, those of you who have asked me to do this. Thank you so much for watching me. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. Please take care, and I'll see you again in the next one.